Hello everybody, welcome back to Screen Stars. Killing Gunther is a 2017 action comedy that stars Taron Killam, Corby Smulders and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and is also directed by Taron Killam. Now, my understanding is he's a comedian in America, but I'll be honest, I've never heard of him before this movie. Um, and this movie, I feel, um, I have been given fair warning of. I've seen a couple of reviews before watching this movie, and I'm glad I did, because all of those reviews have basically said they've marketed this movie incorrectly and they've made it out like this is a starring vehicle for Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he's barely in it. And the majority of those reviews have been fairly scathing because of this. Now, because I know this going in, I had an understanding that Arnold Schwarzenegger isn't in this movie particularly until the end. I felt I could watch it, if you like, and judge it on what I was watching rather than the poor marketing. And although saying that, to be fair, um, this isn't even a brilliant movie, even with that knowledge. So, this movie focuses on Taron Killam's character, who is a hitman, and he puts together a crew of the deadliest hitmen all over the world, or so it would seem, because he wants to kill Gunther, who is Arnold Schwarzenegger's character, who is the world's best hitman. And if you want to be the top dog, he's the guy you've got to take out. And he decides, Taron Killam's character, that he's going to do this, and he brings on board a crew of assassins to help him. His reasons behind doing this are pretty weak, really, only because Gunther apparently had a relationship with his ex, who was played by Corby Smulders. So that's the story that we get here. It's a crew of assassins, and they plan to take out Gunther, but they're the most incompetent assassins you would ever wish to meet. You've got like a pair of Russian assassins. Um, you've got an assassin with a robotic arm. You've got an assassin who uses only poison. You've got the geeky tech guy, um, and a couple of forgettable other ones. In fact, most of them are pretty forgettable, to be honest. And I think where this movie fails is it's supposed to be an action comedy, and it's not particularly great in either areas. It's not overly funny. It's lightly amusing at best, with a couple of laugh out loud moments. And the action is pretty poorly executed, as well as the effects. Some of the explosion effects and blood effects are shockingly bad. I don't know if that was intentional to make them look comedy like, but whatever the intention was, it doesn't work. And the whole production felt a bit cheap. No idea what the budget was for this movie, but it just felt cheap. And I'm actually staggered that they were able to get Arnold Schwarzenegger in this movie. However, that's not to say that it's a terrible movie, because I don't think it is. It's certainly watchable um, if you can bypass your brain a little bit, because none of it makes sense. And it does pick up considerably when Arnold Schwarzenegger turns up. He is by far the best thing in this movie. He is funny. He's clearly having a good time with this movie in this role, but he's just not in it enough. If he was in it for the whole of the movie, this movie would probably be a little bit of a gem, I would imagine, because he absolutely brightens up the screen when he is in the movie. Other than that, it's pretty humdrum stuff. Nobody's overly funny. The writing's not particularly good. The direction's nothing special. So it's a hard film to dislike, but it's also a hard film to like. It's bang in the middle somewhere, really. And as good as the final 20 minutes of this movie is, and it is much better when Arnold turns up, it can't save the rest of the movie for what it actually is, and it's fairly by the numbers, middle of the road action comedy stuff that's neither funny or particularly well done in the action department. So you have to say you feel a bit let down by this movie, but you can't really call Arnie out on this, because, like I say, he's the best thing in here, And he kind of saves the movie because it finishes very strongly. So when it actually finishes this movie, you feel a bit better about it, rather than a strong opening to a movie that finishes terribly. You always remember that the most. So I think this is worth a watch just out of curiosity, really. I don't think it's a film you'll despise or hate. It's just fairly poorly made action comedy that is only really worth watching for the final 20 minutes. The rest of it is clicky brain off time. So it might be worth a look.